It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles.
Welcome in at Sports by the Book on a Thursday. Happy to be with you as always. I'm Jeff Parles. My co-host isn't here. Oh, that's right. She's off now on Thursdays. Alex White, we'll see her again. We did this shot last week. It's just depressing. The empty rest of the desk over there. That side of the desk will be full later in the show. Vinny Maliulo and maybe even a Jimmy Vaccaro.
Should we put the Smiles balloons back?
We should, honestly, put the balloons back. That voice you just heard is Ryan McCormick, who is always, even though he wasn't today on Punchline.
Yeah, everybody can go back and watch that.
Everyone go back where he blasted Star Wars while wearing a Star Wars shirt.
Yes. Well, blasted the one episode that the character wasn't in.
That is also true. That's also true. Ryan McCormick is here as well. We have a fun show today. Kai McKeon's with us in about 10 to 15 minutes.
Yep.
We'll have Scott Spreitzer as well, longtime handicapper, breaking down the NFL games this weekend. Also, he has a play that involves the IPFW Mastodons.
Okay.
Ready? A Mastodon.
Okay.
Which I would argue is the best mascot in college basketball.
I'm still trying to figure out what IPFW means.
That's Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
I got you. Don't worry. I got you on that
you.
one. Ryan. There's two college hoops games going on right now, including the Fighting Camels of Campbell.
Yep.
Taking on Elon. You throw out the record books when those two play.
Yeah.
So Elon up a point at halftime.
North Carolina basketball.
And that one. Yeah, both Elon's North Carolina, right? Or is Elon South Carolina?
It might be South.
Let's see. Elon University is North Carolina.
It is?
There you go.
Okay.
Elon Phoenix. Phoenix and Fighting Camels. Pretty good nicknames in all honesty.
Yeah.
And then, of course, at the end of the show, our guy Vinny with Jimmy as well. So we got a lot to get to. We're going to do it a little bit differently today here because normally on Thursdays, we find out where the Frank is Nicotero
there you go.
At the end of the show. See, I got it.
You got it.
But today, because of how many people are joining us throughout the show, we get to find out where the Frank is Nicotero right now.
Here I am at McKeon. Let's go check out the bikes. I brought my own. All right, so I'm looking for a new bike. I see this one right here. All right, look at that, 1936. That's way older than my bike. $100.
Give a big round of applause.
It's 100,000 actually. Okay, that's. Yeah, I thought I said 100. It's 100,000. We need to go to like the clearance aisle. I think it's over this way. I was thinking this one because my feet could touch the ground, but it doesn't scream Frank. You know, this one sidecar I would need friends, but. Oh yeah. This is the one. Yep. Oh yeah, it's a Zundap Sax Mini. Those are the best. All right, I'm here with Craig. He's a consignment agent here at McKeon, and you know more about these bikes than anyone, I'm told.
Well, there's a couple people that know more than me for sure, but there's a very few people that have amassed the esoteric and useless knowledge that I have.
Now, what's the highest price? What do you think is the highest price that we're going to fetch at the auction here this week?
We have a couple of really great older American bikes. There is a Harley-Davidson strap tank. Last year, we set a world record with a Harley-Davidson strap tank. Almost $1 million.
Oh my God!
Almost $1 million.
See, I'm looking for a new bike. I just wanted to show you my ride. This is my ride here. It's a 2009 Vespa 150 Piaggio. If I auctioned this out, it's got I hit 6,600 miles driving here.
Okay.
And it's dirty. How much could I get for this, honey?
Maybe about $1,000.
Oh, wait a second. Okay, well, now we're talking. Yeah, so I was probably going to bid on this one. It's like 80 to 100 grand, but it's already sold. So that was the one, but sold. Can we walk over to this one? Because this one looks like, this might be one that might be something that would be good for me, because even on my Vespa, this is very sad to say, Craig, my feet don't touch the ground.
Oh,
so
it'll definitely touch the ground.
I have to kind of lean it at a light. It makes me look cool, like I'm kind of bad. I'm like, yeah, what's up? But it's because other's I'd be tippy-toed.
I don't know if you noticed. I'm very familiar with the problem.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, now this one right here. Now, what's this one going for approximately?
This one is actually a really, really great example. It is basically brand new. It hasn't even been dealer serviced.
It's got 2 miles on it.
It is. It's imported from Japan. You don't see see these in America. We have sold these in the past for $10,000 to $15,000.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Again, so I have 1,000 credit coming with my Vespa, so I'd have to then finance. Do you do financing?
Yes, we do financing.
They do financing.
Absolutely.
All right. See, I thought it was just all bigwigs out there just paying cash.
Go to McKeon Finance, and they will give you more horsepower.
Miko. You use that's
trademark.
That's the trademark. I figured. We'll say it on the show, but that's it. All right. Well, I don't think I can get much for this, but I'm going to keep taking a look around. We're going to watch the auctioneers, which are fascinating. They have to get a break, right?
They do. We go through a rotation.
Okay.
And they're up there for about 35, 45 minutes.
Okay,
each.
so I'm going to audition for the auctioneer next. Here we go. And we got Japanese back on for 2,000. I got 2,000 right here. 25, 25, 23 right there.
Just like that. Yeah. But what'd you sell it for?
No one really ever confirmed. People just stared at me blankly like, what the hell's this guy saying, this moron? All right, thank you very much,
Absolutely,
Craig.
my pleasure.
McKeon, you guys have been very accommodating. Another great event that happens here at the South Point, the McKeon auction. This is fascinating. And where are you guys off to next?
We are off to Glendale, Arizona.
There you go. Glendale, Arizona, coming at you. So the McKeon auction is here at the South Point Arena through Saturday. For WTF Nicotero, where the Frank is Nicotero, I'll see you next time. Who knows? This one, I'm keeping. I'm too attached to her. Safety first.
Whoa!
He abandoned us. He just forget coming in studio after where the Frank is Nicotero. He just got on his Vespa and left.
Yep, took it for a speed ride.
Wow, he almost fell on his face too. But that's a different story for a different day. The McKeon auctions, of course, run through, as Frank said, run through Saturday. Here, over 2,000 bikes.
Yes.
Upstairs, up at the arena. The arena technically, Jerry, is it safe to say the arena is technically upstairs from here?
Yeah, you got to go up.
That's safe. Up a level, yeah, technically upstairs.
You got to go up the escalator, up the stairs.
From here, going through Saturday here at the South Point. By the way, Ann, my chair just decided to go further down. Goodness. All you can do is laugh. I will bring this up. Some NFL news that came through today that didn't have to do with the games. Head coaching hirings. Dave Canellis goes from Tampa to Carolina. He's going to be the next Panthers head coach. And then what comes down is really just a stone cold stunner.
Yep.
The Atlanta Falcons interviewed 14 candidates. Bill Belichick got interviewed twice. And the job goes to Raheem Morris. Of course, we've seen this as an NFL head coach once before, 3 years, 110 in 6 years and in Tampa Bay, and 2 bad years down there and with the Bucs. Now, you can argue it was too early for him to have a head coaching job. Now, 13 years later, back as a head coach in Atlanta. Rather stunning more than anything on the front that I thought Belichick was getting that job when all said and done.
Right.
Sounds like the front office overruled Arthur Blank, who wanted Bill Belichick. The front office, a little skeptical. Can't really blame him. Well, in the end, Rich McKay wins out, and he gets his man, and Raheem Morris a little bit stunning there.
Yep.
It'll be fascinating to see what happens in the NFC South this offseason. Baker Mayfield's a free agent. Derek Carr maybe will be a little bit better. Maybe. Who knows with Bryce Young.
Maybe.
And then, again, the Falcons sitting there as the team with the most talent, but with no quarterback, and now a head coach who I'm not certain this was the right move, but only time will tell on that. Only 2 jobs remain, Washington and Seattle. Not Seattle, Washington. Both Washington and Seattle.
There you go.
Available going into the offseason. Quick updates. Before we get the full updates from our guy Vinny Magliulo later in the show, on the front of the NFL games, we're still sitting at 4.
Yes.
On the AFC side,
Yep.
the total is still coming down. The weather in Baltimore now, it's not like it was last week. Remember, last week it was just cold and windy. It's going to be warmer, but there's a light rain, so nothing too bad with about 13-mile-an-hour winds. So that impacts that there. That's why the totals come down to 44.5, I should say. Excuse me there. And then the Niners still sitting at 7. Deebo Samuel was limited today in practice. We still don't know if he's going to be able to go. That is the one and only thing I'm looking at in this game right now, because even with the offensive line injuries on the Detroit side, I still expect them to be able to move the ball. If Deebo doesn't go, that's a humongous deal. As we know, we've seen the 49ers without Deebo, where they were arguably, if not the best offense, one of the 2 best offenses in the NFL with him.
Yep.
I would say they were the best offense in the NFL. And then without him, they're mid-tier at best. They averaged less than 20 points a game in the 3 games that Debo did not play this past season.
Big
So
part of the
that's
game
where
plan.
we're sitting as of right now. Was that right?
Big part of the game plan.
Oh, 100%.
Massive weapon for that offense.
And again, not like they don't have guys. Ayuk is still really good. Kittle's awesome. We know how good McCaffrey is. By the way, there's still people that think probably Carolina won that trade, right, Ryan? Remember when that happened last year? And it's like, why are you giving up so much for a running back? Oh, he's only the best skill position player in the NFL, guys.
Right.
Missing the point.
Pretty close
per usual on the running back discussion. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to shift over to college hoops, a lighter card for a Thursday than usual. But our guy, Kai McKeon, who is one of the weavers over a 3-man weave, will have some plays for us tonight. That's next. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. You'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books, 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza. Plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book. Over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Welcome back in. It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. I'm Jeff Parles. Happy to be with you here on a Thursday. Producer Ryan McCormick is here as well. And joining us now of 3-man weave, we get to talk to our guy, Kai McKeon, today. Kai, thanks for hanging out today. How you doing?
Good, Jeff. Good. How are you?
No complaints. We were talking about this off the air. Would have wished for a little bit of a better slate on a Thursday, but hey, we'll work with what we have, getting prepared even 2 days from now for 154 games on Saturday, which is just ridiculous. Even just saying that number out of my mouth. 300 over 300 schools in action of the 365 on Saturday. Just crazy. But hey, that's a different discussion for a different day with the schedule makers not knowing what they're doing on that. Let's get into some action tonight. Before we get to your official plays, I want to get to a game that is intriguing in the American. And we talk about the American. It's all right. It's Florida Atlantic, even though they haven't been perfect. They're still the best team in the league. Mm-hmm. Memphis has not played well for about 3 weeks now. And now you get these two teams where North Texas, new addition, kind of forgotten about in the addition in the AAC with Grant McCaslin going to Texas Tech. And this Mean Green team is pretty darn good still. They're 73rd in KenPom. They still play that unbelievably slow style, and they're great at defense. And they take on an SMU team tonight in Denton that, quite frankly, the metrics love. The metrics love SMU. They're a top 40 KenPom. They're a top 16 defense. And here tonight, I think this number is right. Now that we're down to a pick across the board, that feels what it should be to me. These two teams are dead even with this game in Denton to me.
Yeah, definitely. There's a couple things at play right here. The two best defensive teams in the league. That's why SMU's been so good this season. Their defense has been incredible. Certainly surprised me. I did not expect this team to be this good. But if you look at the roster, they have talent. They have two former power conference guys, Samuel Williamson was a 4 or 5-star recruit at Louisville. Chuck Harris was at Butler last year. So they have the talent. So it kind of makes sense they're playing to this level. I just didn't quite trust the coaching there. In North Texas's case, yeah, Hodge has basically continued the no-middle defensive scheme that McCaslin ran at North Texas. They've been really just as good as they have been in the past couple of years. And the Super Pit is a really, really tough place to play. If you're going to lean anyway in this game, I think you lean towards the home team. Very, very tough place to win. North Texas can make any game a war, gritty. They're the best offensive rebounding team in the conference. I kind of like North Texas here. Hopefully Reuben Jones is back. Their point guard's been out the last couple games. There's speculation he might be still TBD.
North Texas, again, there are 362 teams in college basketball. North Texas is 362nd in tempo. A total of 126.5 is no misprint. And quite frankly, Kai, when I was going through this morning, I was kind of stunned this total came as high with these teams' defensive abilities. And the fact that, and I've been talking about this with Alex a whole lot when she's been on the show, of when I'm looking at totals, I'm looking more at just what the tempos are, more so than what the team's offensive or defensive abilities are. But then when you put in together where this is a game where this game is indented, so it's going to be played more at North Texas pace, which will be grind, and you have two top 25, 30 defenses in the country, I don't know if we're going to have enough possessions where it even makes sense to get to 126.5.
Yeah, right. Agreed. And tempo, more predictive on the whole than efficiency, right? The two ingredients to making a total: pace, efficiency. North Texas has played sub 60 possessions their last 3 games. I mean, they crawl. You said it. They're the slowest tempo in the country. Offensively, second slowest tempo. They just walk it up. They grind out possessions, and that's how they like to play. That's how they win. They can shoot, too. So if they hit shots, it's almost impossible to beat them with their pace.
Let's go to another game tonight here in college hoops. Let's go to Gonzaga, where, again, it's very rare that we see a type of market move with Gonzaga at the kennel like this, but I can't really argue with the market here, taking this from 10 down to 9, with Gonzaga hosting the Dons. Now, this is not the Dons of 2 years ago. Still a solid team, but not quite that team that was in the NCAA tournament and nearly beat Murray State in the 7-10 game. Look, this would be one of the spots where I actually kind of look to lay the favorite here now that we're down to 9. At the bigger numbers, sure, look at the dog. But now that we're getting closer to game time and his numbers coming down, I would actually look to the favorite here in this one, Kai.
Yeah, and San Francisco's been good all season. The problem is they're really good at beating bad teams and kind of mid-tier teams. Stepping up in competition has been a different story this year. They have 2 wins this season against the KenPom top 150, just 2. The other games they played pretty competitively, but they haven't been able to get over the hump. And you saw that with St. Mary's. They got crushed. This is another game where I think they could get crushed by Gonzaga, a team certainly motivated right now to stay in the at-large picture. They're not a guarantee to make the tournament, if they do not get the auto bid in the WCC. Their freshmen are certainly playing better. Braden Huff's been really, really good the last few games. I lean towards Gonzaga here as well. Again, I just don't think the Dons step up as well in competition as they do against mid-tier lesser teams.
Let's keep it out west here. Going to the Pacific, keeping it in the Pacific Northwest, but a little south of Spokane, going to Eugene here. I can't quite figure either of these teams out. Arizona State goes on the road to take on the Ducks. I know Oregon is 5-2 in conference, but every time I've watched them this year, they just look like a pretty average basketball team. Arizona State obviously is off to a 5-2 start as well in conference play, and every time I've watched them, I think they're just bad. And here they are, tied for the lead in the Pac-12, 9.5 tonight. With Oregon laying it at home in Eugene with a total of 144.
Yeah, a little smoke and mirrors with Arizona State's record. They are 5-2, but probably should have lost to Stanford, probably should have lost to California, probably should have lost to Colorado. So there's a lot of close games in there that Arizona State's kind of eked out. And I agree with you. I saw them in person this year when they came to Chicago. Not impressed by this team. They play hard. They're physical. They scrap defensively, but offensively they tend to stagnate a lot. I think they're flirting with 200th in the country in adjusted efficiency. Just not good enough. Oregon, to their credit, they've been great. It's kind of weird they have not won the past couple games with N'Faly Dante back in the lineup, their fringe All-American candidate when fully healthy. But I do think he's still ramping up. This is his third or fourth game back. I think he'll continue to get better. And I love these group of guards that Oregon has. The freshman, Jackson Shellstad, if you haven't seen him yet, he is a real talent, potential pro in a year or two.
You know, it's a fascinating league out west, and the only team that I kind of know what we're getting out of, at least on the positive most nights, is Arizona, and they're in action tonight. They're at Oregon State. Now, this is a gigantic line for a reason. Oregon State, not any good, but it's 18 points at home in a spot where some weird stuff can happen from time to time in Corvallis. This kind of feels like, all right, you're getting 18 at home. If Arizona beats them by 30, so be it. But I kind of like the dog getting all these points in what I think is a pretty sleepy spot, all things considered, for the Wildcats.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of hate fading Oregon State at big numbers, especially when they're at Corvallis. And that's because of Wayne Tinkle's defensive schemes. He throws a lot of junk zones out there that can really confuse opponents and slow the game down, really add some choppiness to it. You saw that in against Duke last year in Portland at the PK 85. Oregon State completely stymied them. Duke clearly way better, but Oregon State had the scheme to kind of take them out of their game. I'm not saying they can do that with Arizona tonight, but it makes me think twice about laying almost 20 points on the road. So I would lean towards the Beavers, or I would stay away completely. I love Arizona, so I'm not recommending fading them as well.
One more before we get to your official plays, and this is a different Arizona team that may not be at the forefront of many people's minds, but they're really good, and that's the Antelopes of Grand Canyon, who are coming off a loss in Seattle against a pretty solid Seattle U team, actually. Grand Canyon goes on the road for their second consecutive road game to Stephen F. Austin. This WAC actually is pretty good for the second consecutive year since they remade the conference. It's 1.5 basically across the board with Grand Canyon laying it on the road. I'm just curious your thoughts here because I know this is a pretty brutal road spot for Grand Canyon, but this feels like a bounce back, even though they're playing a pretty good team in their own right in the Lumberjacks.
Yeah, they have two major advantages tonight. Number one is they force turnovers, and SFA has been terrible handling the ball. They have good guards. I don't really understand, but they just cough it up constantly. It's part of the pace they play with, the kind of craziness that they play with on the floor. And going into that as well, they foul about as much as anybody in the country. I think second highest foul rate in the entire nation. Grand Canyon, that's their bread and butter. They get to the line, penetration, fantastic guards. Tyan Grant Foster, former JUCO / Kansas player, took a year off due to medical issues. He's playing at an incredible level. So I do think Grand Canyon kind of clears them in a matchup perspective. However, these WAC spots can be strange with the home and away aspect. Again, like you said, you saw Grand Canyon lose to Seattle. I could see SFA taking this one at home. They have a good home court. They are a scrappy team. It makes me think twice about taking Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I mean, we both said it. I mean, this is a wacko road spot here where the road trip is Seattle, go back home to Grand Canyon, and then go to Texas to take on Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches, and then go to Arlington to take on UT Arlington. It's a weird, and you can get this, and we're going to get this more and more in bigger leagues moving forward as well. But these are these road spots to really look at moving forward. Really, also, again, if you want the Power 5 one right now, it's BYU whenever they have to go east, or anyone having to go west to Provo for those East Coast swings, even though Cincinnati handled that pretty well to begin Big 12 play. All right, let's go to your plays. Let's start in a game that I actually had my eye on as well in the Big West, and that's Long Beach State hosting UC Irvine tonight. And Long Beach State at home, a 3.5-point underdog right now.
I like the beach. I like Long Beach State here. Obviously, a huge spot with UC Irvine coming to town. They're the class of the conference. They've been playing great. Long Beach, the reason I like them, they're getting healthier. They've been really banged up the last few games. Marcus Sahonis, arguably their best player. He missed a game. He was also playing a bit hurt. Came back full strength last game. You saw them play a lot better. I think having him back in the lineup is huge. Jaden Jones, another guard, missed a few games. He's back in the lineup. This is about his third or fourth game back. Again, ramping up. And yeah, the spot's great. They have the athletes to hang with UC Irvine. They have the talent. This is a team that many thought could win the league in the preseason, and I still think they have the ability to do so. So I do like them as a dog here at home.
It's a pretty solid league and pretty wide open now out there in the Big West, especially with UC Santa Barbara, who I thought was going to be at the top of the league, just being pretty average so far out there. Pretty interesting go of it out there in that conference. Let's go to the Big Sky next. And we got this one between Sacramento State and Montana State. Sacramento State at home. The Hornets are 1.5-point favorites tonight against Montana State.
Yeah, I like the Hornets. I like Sacramento State. They haven't been very good this year, but the spot's good here. Montana State, they're playing their third game in 5 days. There's a couple weird scheduling spots in the Big Sky like this. Montana State is kind of in the midst of it right now. Sac State, much better at home than they are on the road. And that actually kind of is the same scenario with Montana State. They have not played as well on the road as they have at home. The Big Sky home this year has been very, very solid. Sacramento State, what they do is they crash the boards. They play a really brutal physical style of basketball under David Patrick. They can make this game a war. Short spread, basically win the game. I think they can get it done at home.
1.5-point favorites right now, the Hornets of Sacramento State against Montana State. These are both later tips, 6 o'clock Pacific time for this one. The Long Beach game starts at 7. Before we let you go, Kai, just looking ahead to this monster card on Saturday. Obviously, we have no lines yet, but obviously when you have 150-plus games, you end up with a bunch of marquee ones that you're looking for potential spot plays or whatever you may be looking at. What are a few games or a game that stands out to you on Saturday to be like, all right, I'm waiting for this line and I'm wanting to bet it, assuming if it comes out the way I expect it to?
Boy, that's a good question. Yeah, there are a ton of games, and there are a ton of awesome games on Saturday. You know, the one I'm kind of intrigued about, if I had to choose one, BYU hosting Texas. Mm-hmm. Texas, a team that I'm not really high on. They have not impressed me, but they're off an enormous win at Oklahoma. Not an easy thing to do. Maybe they're finding some sort of mojo. We know they have the talent. Dylan Dessou has been All-American level. The problem is Rodney Terry, not the best coach, in my opinion, kind of panning out this year. And BYU, like you said, is supposed to have a pretty big home court advantage here in the Big 12. They haven't shown it consistently. I think they do on Saturday against Texas. You might get kind of an inflated line. That's going to be the question. Will the books line this along with KenPom and make it 8? That seems a bit too high to me. Or will they bring it down a bit, line it more 5 or 6? That's more of a line I would like to take with BYU. If it's 8 or 9, might stay away. 5, 6, maybe even 7. I like the Cougars there.
Well, all I'll tell you, Kai, is I don't know if Jim told you about this. Jim and I have a bet on BYU. I have bottom 5 in the conference. He has top 6 in the conference. If it ends up in the middle, no one wins. So I'm fully prepared for them to finish 8th in the conference and no one wins on that bet in the Big 12 in their first year in that conference.
Yeah, you're on pace.
Yeah, we're right on pace for them to finish 8th. It's right on for it, which, of course, that's naturally what would end up happening. He's Kai McKeon. Again, 3-man weaver. You can find him, Matt, and Jim, as always, doing great stuff over there. Kai, pleasure as always, man. Thanks for hanging with us today.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, Scott Spreitzer will join the show. He has a college hoops play for today in a game that's starting at the top of the hour, and we look at the conference championship games in the National Football League. Scott Spreitzer joins the show next here on Sports by the Book.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rock and dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show, every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grand View Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome back in at Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio. Happy to be with you. I'm Jeff Parles. And now joining us, professional handicapper. He's been around for a long time. Very good handicapper as well. Our guy Scott Spreitzer with us right now. Scott, thanks for being with us today.
Hey, it's great to be here, Jeff. I'm looking forward to this network really taking off, and it's fun to listen to. I check it out almost daily, and good to be on with you, Jeff.
We're thankful for those kind words. Again, we've added like 150 subscribers in the last week.
We're over 1,100 now.
Frank Nicotero finally decided to go into the Rolodex, I guess. But we're thrilled to have you on, Scott. And I want to start. Let's start in college hoops because you have a play on a game that is going to start at the top of the hour, and it is IPFW, which I had to tell Ryan what it stood for in the beginning of the show. Indiana, Purdue, Fort Wayne, taking on Northern Kentucky. This is actually a good matchup in that conference in the Horizon. Northern Kentucky, the Norse, laying 4 in this game at home against the Mastodons with a total of 151 behind me, as low as 150.5 in the market, as high as 151.5 right now.
Yeah, Jeff, last night, I'm a night owl, and I'm jumping into this game last night. It was 5 just about everywhere. And this morning, of course, it started to drop a little bit. I know at the South Point about 20 minutes ago, it was down to 4, and I jumped in when it went down, actually. So, listen, they seek revenge. They lost to IPFW by 13 points. Earlier this season, but that game was on the road. And check out Northern Kentucky's home road dichotomy. They're fantastic at Highland Heights, their home court, where they're 8-1, just 3-8 straight up on the road. They made 59% of their 2-point attempts over their last 4 home games, which is top notch, obviously. And what I like about the Norse is they will get you to turn the ball over, especially on their home floor. They shoot 2-pointers with solid accuracy. They don't attempt a lot of threes. And I think that's important in this rematch because IPFW defends the 3-point line better than they do inside the 3. And again, this is one of those situations where NKU is, towards the bottom of the basketball list, 360 plus teams when it comes to 3-point to 2-point ratio. So I'm getting a team that does what they do best against a team that isn't that great against defending the 2. In fact, they're 306th in the nation in 2-point defense. And when you look at the Mastodons, IPFW, they're 255th in defensive efficiency field goal percentage, and they're horrible on the glass. So, listen, the last time on this floor, Northern Kentucky won by 20. I don't know that they're going to win by 20. I just need them to win by 5, right? So I like Northern Kentucky here laying a couple of buckets.
Northern Kentucky right now 4-point favorites. Scott's side for this one against IPFW. Again, IPFW got off to an awesome start this year, 13-2, have lost 5 straight games right now as their defense has started to fail them in conference play. And the Norse right now, winners of 3 in a row. Again, there's some really bad teams in that conference, including Detroit Mercy, who is a nice hearty 0-20 so far this year. Kind of missing Mike Davis's son, who, of course, is the all-time leading scorer in college hoops. I do have one more college hoops game that I just want to ask you about real quick. That's Gonzaga tonight. I asked Kai McKeon this. I'm just curious your thoughts because we very rarely see Gonzaga single digits at home in WCC play when it's not St. Mary's as the opponent. Just what are your thoughts here with it down to 9? This was double figures overnight.
Yeah, I like San Francisco a little bit here. The caveat for me is that they played a soft slate this year, a little bit softer than they normally do outside of the West Coast Conference. And that is a little bit of a concern. This number, as you mentioned, it was 10, last night, this morning. Most books now sitting at 9, couple at 9.5. But the Dons are 10th in the country in 2-point shooting. And when I do shows, you'll hear me a lot of times talking about 3-point ratio to 2-point ratio, how the team does inside the arc as opposed to outside the arc. They do struggle from behind the 3-point line, and they rely on that shot inside quite a bit. I like them here, though, because this isn't the same Gonzaga team that we've seen under Mark Few for many, many years now. They don't shoot the three all that well, and San Francisco on defense is at their best against the two. I do think they can hang around here, Jeff. I do think they're going to be able to cover this number. Again, it's dropped from 10 to 9. I actually made this 8, so there's a little bit of wiggle room left to go with San Francisco plus the points for me.
It is so strange seeing Gonzaga struggle like this, and I think they're a bubble team. We'll see how it goes tonight for them. Again, Scott leaned to the Dons here as a 9-point dog on the road in the kennel against Gonzaga. Let's go to the NFL. Let's start on the AFC side here. This is the early game on Sunday at noon Pacific, 3 local in Baltimore. Last week with the Kansas City Buffalo game, I just couldn't pass up the points, couldn't pass up the plus price with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Got away with it. Similar spot here this week, but Scott, the one thing that stands out to me in this game is the unknown status of Joe Thuney, where he is, to me, Kansas City's best offensive lineman. We have seen Kansas City in the playoffs in the past with line injuries totally change what their ability is, what they can do on offense. And Baltimore's defense is a defense that could make them pay if Joe Thuney plays and isn't 100%, or if he doesn't go at all. So this is a pass for me, even at this number of 4, which is kind of jarring to see with a Patrick Mahomes team getting it. Do you have anything here with the total now also at 44.5?
Yeah, I'm not getting involved in the total. I actually jumped on Baltimore at 3.5, and I would be on them whether Thuney plays or not. But your point is well taken up front at guard. He's just so tough. In this defense, you give them any kind of a break if Thuney's not out there. And I do believe you're right that he's the best offensive lineman on this team. If he's not able to play or he has to miss some plays during the course of the game because he's less than 100% healthy, it's advantage Baltimore. There's plenty, I think. When we're breaking down a game, Jeff, when we're handicapping games, we're looking to make our bets. We can make a reason for either side that's on the field. I just come up with more advantages, strengths versus weaknesses for the Ravens in this contest. And you can start with that Kansas City red zone offense. And if Thuney's not playing, it hurts them even more. They've been struggling since day one this season, basically, to get the ball in the end zone, to reach pay dirt when they're in that red zone, and they're not getting the job done. They did a little bit last week against Buffalo. But I went back the last 4 games, Jeff, the final couple of regular season games and the last 2 playoff games, obviously. And in those last 4 games, Kansas City's had 21 scoring drives. 14 of those were field goals, 7 were touchdowns. That's a little scary if you're back in KC here or if you happen to like the over. But Baltimore heads into this AFC Championship, Jeff, the second best defense when it comes to red zone success rate allowed. They're just all over this. It's their strength against KC's weakness. We know KC's receivers have struggled to hang on to the football, and the Ravens are the number 1 defense in yards per pass allowed. They've allowed 21 or more points this year 4 times. That's what KC's got to go against. And then Baltimore can run the football. I was perplexed, confused, couldn't understand last week. I had no action on the game. Why Buffalo quit running the football with James Cook? Even their fullback had like 40 yards in the game on 7 or 8 carries. It was all Josh Allen. They were tearing up that Kansas City defense on the ground. And here comes Baltimore, number 1 in the league on the ground, $156 per game averaged. And, it's just one of those things where I think KC's defense is going to be in trouble. And one of those rare instances, Jeff, when Kansas City doesn't have a big coaching advantage. It's at least even down the middle. And maybe I even lean to Harbaugh a little bit at this point. But at the most, it's dead even. And so all those key advantages, I think, fall in line with a bet on Baltimore. And I did lay 3.5. And as you mentioned, it's up 4 just about everywhere. I think they end up winning this game by about 10 points. And it scares me to say that because we got Mahomes, directing the offense on the other side, and he can work magic. But I like Baltimore here.
Yeah, and I can't really fault you on any of that, Scott, because when you look at also one other thing with Baltimore that has impressed me so much this year, when they have played better competition, they're just blasting good teams. They beat the Lions by 30 plus. They beat Seattle by 30 plus earlier in the year. I went into San Francisco and beat up the Niners. I know there was 2 touchdowns. That was a 3-score game. And then last week, when they put the pedal on the foot on the gas pedal, boy, that was a dominant second half against a good game Houston team. And also, they didn't allow an offensive touchdown to Houston in 2 matchups this year. So, very impressive defense. 15 is the only real argument for Kansas City this week. It really is. It's just Mahomes. But Baltimore, I agree with you. Top to bottom, Baltimore, the better team. And if you have to have this game at home, you better find a way to get here to Las Vegas with a win on Sunday. Going to the late game. This is fascinating to me because we're at 7 right now. We're starting to get some 7 minus 20 in the market at some spots. Of course, only 11 to 10 behind me here at the South Point. It's still 7 on San Francisco. Total is up to 52 across the board now from 51 earlier in the week. We still don't know about Deebo Samuel and Scott. That's really the deciding factor for me if I'm going to hop in on the Niners laying a touchdown, if Deebo is going to be actually able to go, even though he practiced in a limited fashion today.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, there's a few books out there that have gone to 7.5, very few, but a few. And one of my line services was reporting about 57% of the tickets on Detroit. So we might have a bit of a public underdog here. And I'm not into that whole public versus, sharp type of thing because, listen, the public wins about 50% of the time. The issue is at 11 to win 10, you got to win 52.3 to break even. So I'm not one of those guys who's like, if I'm on the public side and my handicap says public side, I'm going to be on it. It's as simple as that. But as far as this game is concerned, obviously, if you're looking at Detroit, you're a little concerned with that defense. Each of their last 5 opponents have had at least 4 scoring drives in the games that they played in. 10 of their last 11 opponents have scored at least 20 points with an average of 26 points per game, Jeff. And if you check out the pass defense, the last 5 quarterbacks that the Lions have faced have completed 66% of their passes, about 374 yards passing per game. How about 9.6 yards per pass? Even Nick Mullins, they faced Nick Mullins twice late in the season. His 2 games against Detroit, he combined for over 800 yards and 10 yards per pass. I know Brock Purdy threw a couple of clunkers last week. In fact, if a certain Green Bay defender does what he should have and intercepts the ball and runs back a pick 6, we might be talking about Green Bay this week. But I think with another week under, his wing of a postseason game, CMC on the ground, Brandon Ayuk, who, by the way, is not a bad overplay receiving yardage, I think it's a situation where San Francisco's a little bit too much here. Real quick final note on these receivers. Evans for Tampa Bay, $147 through the air against Detroit last week. Nakua for the Rams, 181 through the air against Detroit. And even Jefferson for Minnesota late in the season, second time he faced him, almost 200 yards receiving. That's one of the reasons why I like Ayuk to go over this total. San Francisco best in the business at yards after catch.
Ayuk 80.5 receiving yards and over on that. And look, you mentioned it. The Detroit defense, if they end up losing this game, it's not going to be because their offense didn't show. Weather's supposed to be great. Niner defense has been a little bit disappointing over the last 6 weeks. It's going to be, even if Samuel doesn't play, it's going to be because of what you said, a big-time wide receiver going off, and it could be Brandon Ayuk, 80.5, the number. Scott looking over on that one. Again, he's Scott Spreitzer. Again, you can find him on the tweets at Scott Wins, sports betting analyst. You hear him all over the place, and you heard him just right here on Sports by the Book. Scott, pleasure as always. Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Take care, Jeff, man. I really appreciate it. Say hi to everybody at the South Point for me.
Will do. Vinny's giving you the wave off stage right
Perfect.
now. When we get back, we'll take a quick break. Vinny Magliulo, Jimmy Vaccaro in studio. Plenty to get to on Sports by the Book.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day. Plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south of the border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. Or maybe you're in the mood for seafood. Big Sur Oyster Bar has fresh seafood prepared right before your eyes. Savor freshly shucked oysters, crab legs jambalaya, shrimp and lobster. Beers on tap and a selection of fine wines are perfect to pair with your seafood favorite. Whether lunch or dinner, you'll love this fun atmosphere, located just off the casino floor. Ready to shake things up? Step back in time and treat yourself to one of the oldest restaurant chains in the country. Steak and Shake, famous for original mouth-watering steak burgers and hand-dipped milkshakes in a variety of flavors. For some old-fashioned fun, try Steak and Shake.
Welcome back in. It's Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. Happy to be with you. I'm Jeff Parles, Ryan McCormick, our producer, always well-dressed in the back there. And now,
Sure. Please try it.
Yep, there he is. Look at him. Look at him. Tie and all. Wasn't wearing a tie. It was opposite day on Frank's show today.
I think it's definitely Pit Boss material for you.
Yeah,
Ryan.
absolutely.
I could
Thank
see
you,
it.
Benny.
Absolutely. All the way
see
down to the
Show you how to fold your hand, how to hold your hand. Yeah. Yeah. Get a little cigarette, maybe.
Those are the dulcet tones of Vinny Maliulo, as always.
What's up, buddy?
And look who joined us as well.
That's right.
It's our guy, Jimmy Vaccaro. Jimmy, good to see you.
It's a pleasure to see you. I know you guys are big shots now. You forget where we are.
Oh, come on.
When's the last time you came back and said, hi, Chris? Hi, Benny. Hi, Jimmy.
I was back there when you talked to my dad, who was in town last week.
That was last year.
That was last week. It wasn't last year.
Let me run this by you so I don't want to miss it, and then you guys can take it, and I got to go to the spa anyway.
Okay.
Obviously, we know about Super Bowl Sunday. We know this is the biggest attraction, one-game affair that we have. And every year it goes up a little bit, not from like here to here, but like we know we can always lean on. But here's why Jimmy thinks it's even going to be bigger this year. I'm going to just name these teams first. Kansas City, Baltimore, Detroit, and 49ers. You have 3 out of those 4 teams who are crowd favorites. Mm-hmm. So I believe that type of situation can even create more money. And you know where it'll show kid also is like Friday and Saturday of next week, the people who come to town they'll get their $100 ticket because these 3 teams are what we call marquee teams. So it's going to be busy anyway, but it's going to be a little bit more busy and, get here. And, what we do to let everybody have a chance to win. We have the kiosk. We have 2 ballrooms upstairs. I think, Vincenzo, 2 ballrooms upstairs. We have the Grandview Lounge. But, it's amazing. But, 3 out of those 4 teams are teams that people love to bet on.
Jimmy brings up an important point because we oftentimes get asked, what's the best matchup for business and everything. Well, first of all, let's remember business this year is going to get an even bigger boost because the game is here. All right. And
just 7 miles up the road.
The thing about it is we always, and Chris Andrews put out a nice response to a recent social media post about how many people are going to be in town. Over 300,000, 330,000. I could tell you this: Las Vegas outdraws the host city on a regular basis. I mean, we got the hotel inventory, the hotel room inventory, and of course everything that goes with that. The game, the betting on the game itself, and all the proposition bets, but everything else, all the entertainment, the dining, and all the other gaming elements as well. So, to Jimmy's point, which is important too, is you've got 3 of the 4 teams here that have been public teams for such a long time. The 49ers, the Chiefs, the Ravens. And then, but let's face it, right, Jimmy, in the last couple of years with Dan Campbell up in Detroit, they became very popular this year as well. And these 4 fan bases all travel as well, too.
No matter whether it's, the March Madness or now, we love the teams that are Cinderella. And obviously the Lions are Cinderella this year. But this one is going to be an easy one as far as teasers are concerned. It's going to be the Rams. Excuse me, they're going to be the Kansas. Getting all 49ers.
49ers.
We're going to be a big teaser game.
Oh, yeah.
Make no mistake about it. So, like you said, we're here. We do it. And 10 years ago, we couldn't even say Super Bowl. We couldn't. Now it's right down the street from where we're at, a bookie place where obviously we do everything the way it's supposed to be done. But just think about that. You couldn't bet a $3 parlay card in this town 20-some years ago. Now in the paper today out there, people, the Oakland A's guy was in town. They're going to start trying to get this thing done.
Fisher
So,
was here yesterday. Yep.
Stick around. You ain't seen nothing yet.
It's happening. It's going. It's going to keep going.
It will be by, what is it, 2024 right now?
Yeah.
I will say by 2034, this will be a 4-sport town. The NBA will be here by then as well.
Within 10, I think it'll be less.
It could very easily be 7.
I think it
very easily.
I think it'll. I'd bet the under 10, and I'm not. I don't. The biggest question actually, I think, will be: is it going to be a relocation, or is it going to be an expansion?
I think it will be. Personally, I think it will be an expansion.
Yeah, if it takes that long, yeah. But because I think most teams are on a pretty good financial footing. So, but I think you'll see, probably a group with that may include one famous Laker.
Well, the king
right
himself,
now.
probably. Yeah.
Probably, I could see LeBron James. I think he's made no bones about it being.
Yep.
As maybe the next step in his business career.
And just think, maybe in 5 years we'll have every major league team in this town where we couldn't say the word Super Bowl 10 years ago.
That's right.
We would get something in the mail. If you do it again, we're going to fine you. Think about that. From
The big
nothing,
game.
From nothing to what it's going to be. It's incredible. But and every major league team is going to say, I'm going to let those weasels make all the money. We're going to build something there. And I think your 10's a little high, but obviously it could be. But we're going to have every major league team here in the next, the next 10 years. There's no doubt about it.
I might have just been high on the 10. All depends on what you said. If it's a new team or not in the NBA. A's are coming 28, right? 2028 officially on the A's now.
What's interesting about the A's, Jeff? Yeah, the target date to complete the stadium. Question is,
where are they going to play?
I think this year
they're in Oakland this year.
In Oakland, but I think that in 25, 6, and 7, my recommendation would be that they split between here and Reno.
And Reno,
yes, there's a stadium up in Reno.
What is that? The Diamondbacks team in Reno still?
The Aces, yeah.
And the Reno Aces, right?
Yes.
Ryan, I mean, so you're attracting, the whole state, the entire state. Yep. And again, they're a Northern California team, which is a lot of A's and Giants fans up in Northern Nevada right now.
It's in a nice place. It's a nice stadium.
Oh, it's a great, it's a nice facility.
Really
now, the concern is, is it going to, they only hold about 10.
Both places about 10.
But you know what? What's the alternative?
They've also looked in Salt Lake City.
I saw the Salt Lake City report yesterday.
Rotate all. Well, that's not much bigger either.
They're building a new. They're building a new ballpark there, aren't they?
Yeah, for the Angels.
Yeah, for the Bees.
Yep.
So you attract 3 cities, 2 states worth of fans. I think.
That's true.
That should be good to do. But getting back to these 2 games this week. Action is very steady, and again, Ravens now 4 and 7 on the Niners. So plenty of props. We continue to have more props. Chris put out 2 more sheets of props today on both games. Alternate point spread props, alternate total props, all kinds of there's something for everybody here, including the projected Super Bowl numbers too. Who you think is going to get in there, Jimmy?
Yeah, and I'm looking at the teams right now. The Chiefs and the Ravens. Even though we've had some money on the Ravens, damn well the Chiefs are going to.
People will bet them on go.
There's no
bet them on the money line.
Because your quarterback. Because your quarterback.
Of course.
No doubt. And we're going to get Lions money back if we go to 7.5. It'll be a little bit of a maneuver there, but we'll see what happens.
Well, it's interesting because, of course, only 11 to 10 here, as we know.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. And we're starting to see some 7 minus 120s on San Francisco in the market. Mm-hmm. So, and there's even some faraway places, some 7.5s out there.
Yeah, I think, and again, let's remember this as well. I mean, today's Thursday. I mean, 85%, 90% of the money actually is yet to come, and that'll come on the weekend. So it'll start building. There's a steady stream today, and of course today is combination of today's NBA, NHL, and college basketball slate. You've got a busy college basketball, NBA, and NHL weekend as well, but everybody will be involved with these 2 games this weekend. And again, once we get to tomorrow night, it'll just start really jumping here at the South Point.
I just want to look ahead real quick.
Yeah.
Just because, of course, once these games are set, you already have some look ahead numbers. Of course, if you bet a matchup that doesn't happen on these just look ahead numbers, it's a refund, get the money back. So let's say the Ravens, if you bet the Ravens versus the Lions and it ends up being the Ravens and the 49ers.
Check your house rules, as always.
No, I'm talking about
here. Yeah.
Talking about for here.
Yeah.
For elsewhere, of course, check your house rules if you bet it elsewhere. But for here at the South Point, if you happen to do that, it'd be a refund on that. Just Vinny and Jimmy, just for, of course, the big prop book will be out by the end of next week. Just the process of getting the props up over the days leading up to the game.
You're talking about the Super Bowl props with the 400 or 500 props. Look, the thing about the props is the templates are they're pretty much set. You've got it's the administrative part of it, like setting them up and making sure stipulations. Again, there's house rules and then there's stipulations. What's a stipulation? So, for instance, if there is a particular player prop, let's say it's a wide receiver to go over or under X amount of yards, okay? The stipulation here would be player has to play but does not have to start. Now, again, that's a stipulation. So there is all kinds of the stipulations. The administrative part are what's really time consuming, and you can put up props right up until Saturday, or Sunday morning.
I got one for you. You got to think. How can we have both Kelsey brothers in a parlay somehow?
Well, unless they're taking an ice
beers consumed.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have to be, right?
You'd have to set that over.
You know what? I don't think you could. I don't. If it's beers consumed by Jason versus catches by Travis, I don't know if you can lay enough beers with Jason.
Jason's
still.
a huge favorite. I'd lay that.
Hey, you lay 4.5 beers and you still might be good.
See, we're missing out. We're missing out on a prop like that, which we can't book.
Of course.
And the other one, like with the election coming up in a few months, we're the only country in the world that doesn't book the election.
Well, and you've talked about this for years, Jimmy. Where especially with, I think it'd be a little bit different this go around since we're trending towards a rematch of the 2020 election. But if betting was allowed in this country on the 2020 election, forget it. I mean, it would have been
a record turnout.
Forget any Super Bowl. Forget anything. It would have been the highest handle event in the history of the country by a wide margin. The 2020 election.
Here's what happens. I'm sure Vincenz gets the same thing. People come up thinking that you can bet the election, no matter where they come from. Then when you tell them it's for entertainment purposes only, you get the finger in the face.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
The finger. What do you mean I can't? They do it in Taiwan. Well, go to Taiwan and make
just go north of the border. They do it in Canada right now.
Right. I could tell you this would be a record voter turnout because people would have a vested.
Oh yes, of course.
Stake.
Yeah,
of course.
So, interesting, but
no, Jimmy. I remember you talk about this for years.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
The response we got from that,
but we'll stick with the
sports for now.
The NFC and AFC title games and the Super Bowl, and again, the fact that the Super Bowl is here this year, it's easy to say that there'll be a record.
I just want to ask one last thing before we get out of here today.
Yeah.
Futures book.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine San Francisco and Detroit would be the two that could potentially be an issue, but you're pretty well balanced at this point.
No, I think Chris has talked about pretty good shape to the future book. I mean, these were teams that. You have to remember, I mean, every one of these teams was favored in their divisions, right? They were their respective division favorites. So in the future books, there weren't really high prices, high odds. You get in trouble in a future book exposure-wise when there's a long shot. Again, the classic one would be the Golden Knights in their inaugural season, where there were such very high odds on
people having to break tickets.
Oh, they break the tickets out of souvenir. I told you that story. My buddy did that.
And here's something that obviously been over the years we've understood how to handle it. We'd start taking futures on next year's Super Bowl when you're ready to kick off for this Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So if you know what the hell you're doing, you have like 9 or 10 months to like maneuver your props and maneuver your futures. So usually, not all the time, but I'd say 9 out of 10 times, we pick up nice money with the future books.
You hold the money for a long time, and you've got Jimmy's right. I mean, there was a time we didn't put up the futures until the season started,
right.
But now or the summer. Now I started doing this when I was at Caesars one year. We had a refund. It was the Packers and when the Packers beat the Patriots by 14.
Yeah.
And everybody was cashing their money out. So I put up NFC and AFC for the next year and wrote over 100,000. I said, why not? Why wait till next year?
And that game landed a push, right?
Again, but it was 14. It was the great refund, I call it.
Oh, great!
The great refund. It was fantastic.
It's over 4.5 trips to the spa on Super Week
for you.
Super Bowl weekend, Chunch?
Yeah.
The weekend or the whole week?
Just a week.
Oh, the week. The week?
Yeah, the weekend.
I was going to. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
the week.
Oh, you was ready to bang it up
for the week. That's why I said 4.5 over for the weekend. I'd still lay the price.
Minus 120.
Jimmy, Vinny, pleasure as always.
Nice to see Scott Spreitzer.
Yeah, it's good to see Scott as well. Big thanks to Kai McKeon as well for joining us today. Vinny, you and Chris are back tomorrow with me.
Football Friday.
At 3. Maybe we'll see Jimmy as well.
Yes.
On the show for a Football Friday, 3 to 4 here on Sports by the Book. Great job, crew. Sean, Ann, Jerry, Ryan, great work as always. Also, shout out to Frank Nicotero doing a great job, and Where the Frank is Nicotero at the top of the show as well. I'm Jeff Parles. We'll see you again tomorrow, 3 o'clock, right here, Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.